In a world filled with information, where do you turn to get straight talk about retirement, investments, and your money? Lock it in to the longest running financial talk show in Arkansas, and let us help you build the bridge between information and application. Real financial change begins right here, and it starts with you.
It's showtime! Woo!
If you still have some blank space on your Christmas list, we've got an idea for you, and it won't cost much. On the show today, we explore the gift of planning and how it's a gift that can last a lifetime.
This is the Get Ready for the Future show.
We welcome you into the Get Ready for the Future show, broadcasting on Facebook Live and YouTube and all around the world, I guess. I've always wanted to say that. You know, when I was on the little radio station down in El Dorado, I always thought, man, one day I might actually get to broadcast all over the world.
And technology has made it possible.
And today is it. How about that? Merry Christmas, John. We've got a great discussion lined up for the show today, and it's very timely because of the Christmas season. We wanted to talk a little bit about how financial independence can really change your life and how you might be able to give that gift to others. And Janet, clearly, in the time that we have spent in the financial services industry, we know that planning can lead to financial independence, and financial independence can be a life-changing event for folks. So we know the value of planning, but what about the value of giving that gift of planning to other people?
I mean, if you think about, the people you care about the most in your life, it's probably family members, and you want them to be financially independent. You want them to be able to reach their goals financially. And how do you do that? Well, the best way is with a plan. And so you have the opportunity this month to give them the gift of financial planning, John.
Absolutely. And we will be talking more about that on the show today. I want to welcome in Candace Stanley from our Bryant office and get her take on this. Candace, if someone had sat you down when you were, getting started in life after high school and maybe college or whatever, and they had actually gifted you the idea of financial independence and a method by which to achieve that idea, how different would your life be today?
Probably very different. When I go back and think about those days, I definitely wasn't thinking about my retirement and financial future when I was right out of high school. I was thinking about going to college and how much fun that was going to be.
Yeah.
So I really wasn't thinking about that. But it definitely would have made me think about that. And I definitely would have gone in for an appointment if that was a gift. And I think nowadays we're trying to get away from giving so much stuff. A lot of times it's more popular to give an experience and things like that. But we've had some clients that have given the gift of planning, and their children have taken advantage of it.
Yeah, I think that can make a tremendous difference for people. Janet,
I want to be sure to point out that we're not talking about just the monetary gift of planning, but what we're really discussing is the gift of the things that the plan actually does. It's not so much about the plan, but it's actually about the things that the plan does. So let's kind of use a couple of for instances. Let's say that your parents were able to just totally 100% take care of your college education. What kind of big change would that be as opposed to you being under the weight of student loans or, having to pay for it yourself and work your way through college and all of that? Clearly, that is a big deal. What if you could clearly see what the benefit was of you actually getting started with a 401k plan? And Janet, we've talked many times about the impact of not only your own investments in the 401k plan and the time value of money, but also the benefit of getting that employer match as time goes on. It makes a huge difference in the outcome of your retirement.
Yeah, it does. I mean, when you think about, let me go back to the student loans. If your parents were able to help you through college and handle that for you, then, that's tens of thousands of dollars. But when we look at the question of what if you're able as a parent to gift to your adult children the gift of financial planning, I think that's a six-figure six-figure impact for almost everybody who might be on the receiving end of that. And I think that's a very conservative estimate, depending on what timeline we're talking about starting on this. So if you think about it, guys, we don't ever get taught about money. There's not a, now in Arkansas, we're trying to change that. There have been some efforts made in recent years to make that different, but there's not a time when you get taught what to do with your paycheck. You're always taught, here are the things you're going to need to know to do a job. Here are the things you're going to need to know to get a job. What about when you get that paycheck? What do you do with it? And how do you handle things like a mortgage or a vehicle payment, or do you even need to have a vehicle payment? And all of those questions, what do you do with that retirement account that they're telling you about at work? All of those questions come into play, but there's never a time in our educational system consistently where we say, when you are this age, you will know this information. We just don't have that. But how do we go through life without knowing those things? These are questions that everybody is going to have to deal with and address along the way. So why not give the gift of knowledge, and then more importantly, personalized knowledge, so it is applicable to your individual situation. When am I gonna, what am I gonna do with my retirement plan at work? Is it time for me to contribute? And if I do, what does that look like? What does that do for me by the time I'm, 55, 60, 65, around that retirement age? What does that look like? And to really be able to answer those questions and to understand the impact of your decisions now in your 20s, maybe, or even later if you're at that point, but to understand the long-term impact of your decisions now is critical.
And we're talking right now about the gift, as you said, Janet, of knowledge and information, and sort of a futuristic look at maybe a child's life or something like that. But let's also talk about the gift of generational transfer of wealth, because I don't think ever in history has there been more threats, particularly with middle and upper middle income folks right now, more of a threat to the generation to generation transfer of wealth. Way back in the day when we started Gen Wealth Financial Advisors, the Gen in Gen Wealth actually means generational wealth transfer, because we saw that was a problem for a lot of people. Well, it's gotten even more problematical as time goes on. As pointed out by this statistic, 70% of families lose their wealth in the second generation, and 90% lose their wealth in the third generation. Now, that is according to an article in Market Watch, but I want you to think about that. All the work that goes into building wealth in this country, and then there is a huge loss of that over one generation, and then they kind of come back and blow off the rest of it in the second generation or whatever. And Candace, I've got to believe that's really because of ignorance, and it's really because of a lack of foresight.
Yeah, I mean, it's also because, how many ways are we dividing it too? When we're talking about the family tree, if you have several children, that's going to be divided up among them, and then you may have 10 or 15 grandchildren. So that's an impact to that as well. But it's what you do with it when you receive it too. Yeah,
and yes, it might be divided out among many, but earn your own. And,
right.
If the first generation could do it, then the second can, and the third can. And you guys have heard the phrase shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. That's what this is talking about.
Yeah.
It's the fact that, you work your tail off and you get to a higher point in life, but are you along the way teaching your children what they need to know? And I think we do a pretty good job for most people about teaching them the character traits, go out and work hard and blah, blah, blah. Okay, but you can work hard and not know what to do with your money and still not move forward in life, Candace.
For me, I have 3 sisters. We were the recipients of that third generation. We had a grandfather that passed away, but he left us something, and not one of us just blew it and it was gone. It was what we did with it. Now, it wasn't a whole lot, but it was something, and it was enough to get us started in life.
Sure.
And so that propelled us, and it makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
It does make a big difference, and we're going to give you a chance to make a big difference on the other side of the break. We're going to have a special announcement about how you can actually give the gift of planning and get it at a discount. That is coming up on the Get Ready for the Future show. We thank you for being with us all across the state of Arkansas, and as I said earlier, around the world on the internet. We love being with you on this Wednesday or Saturday, whichever one you're listening to. We're back in just a moment. Hey, it's John and Janet from Gen Wealth Financial Advisors, and we are so excited and honored to be named Arkansas Money and Politics Best of the Best in 2020 in 2 categories. One as Best Financial Advisors, but secondly, Best Women-Owned Business.
Thank you so much for your vote of confidence in us. We know it's the Gen Wealth Financial Advisors name that showed up, but we also know that we couldn't have done it without you. So thank you so much for your support and for your vote of appreciation for Gen Wealth.
There's always been power in standing up for what you believe in, challenging the status quo, and never accepting the ordinary. What about the rest of your life? Will you settle? Or will your retirement be more? More fun, more family than finances, more than just investments. Connect with us at Gen Wealth and harness the power of more.
You ain't heard nothing yet. Buckle up, because we're back with the Get Ready for the Future show.
And we're talking about the gift of planning on the Get Ready for the Future show today. And if you are interested in giving the gift of planning, we've got a special for you just for between now and December 23rd. This, I guess this is our Santa Claus special, Janet.
There you go.
You've heard of the Santa Claus rally in the stock market. Well,
Yes.
This is our Santa Claus special. If you call between now and December 23rd to schedule an appointment for either you or someone that you want to give the gift of planning to, you will get half off the cost of a financial plan. And you can get started right now. You can give us a call today at 501-653-7355 and just let us know that you want to take advantage of the half off Christmas special on the financial plan to give the gift of planning. And then we will put Anna Olive, our new client coordinator, in touch with you, and she will obviously go through a little bit of explanation on how this process works and what have you, and get you connected up with a Gen Wealth advisor.
And John, to clarify on those dates, the appointment does not have to occur between now and December
Good
23rd,
point.
but you do have to call between now and December 23rd. So the appointment could be after the holidays in January. That'll be fine. But if you want to take advantage of the special that we're offering right now, call between now and December 23rd. Again, the number is 501-653-7355.
Janet, one of the things that I learned very, very early on is one of the most intriguing things about personal finance to me was the time value of money.
Mm-hmm.
And now that sounds kind of, I don't know, kind of sterile and sort of an
Kind of
industry.
geeky in our industry.
A little geeky or whatever. But here's the deal. What it means is that the earlier you start, the greater the opportunity that you have of reaching financial independence. And I don't even remember the numbers, but I remember that I was shown a compound interest calculation and how just missing out on the first 5 or 6 years of putting money away made like, I don't know, $500,000 difference in your net worth by the time you got to retirement. And I was like, man, I got to get started. That is an incredible, incredible thing to really know. And to be able to pass just that nugget of information down the line could be life-changing.
We want to meet you wherever you are. And as far as financial planning is concerned, be sure that we're addressing your needs. And it may be, Candace, that they're at a point where they can go ahead and get started on investing. Maybe that's something you've never done before, or maybe you have done it, but you need some coaching along those lines. Maybe you're at a point where you need some help, just getting a game plan together for when you will be able to do that. And you just need some planning done right now, but you're not even quite ready to invest. Wherever you are, we want to help you pick up, and say, okay, here's your game plan personalized for you.
Yeah, they're all going to be different, but how many times are we in an appointment and a client says, man, I wish I had started this when I was,
Oh, man.
I don't know, however old.
Or
All
I
the
wish I
time.
had known this 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
Because if they had known that information, then they would have been able to apply it.
Yep.
So let's walk through some basic steps of getting to this idea of financial independence. I think the first thing that you've got to do is you got to get out of debt, because what you're really doing when you pay debt is you're enriching someone else's financial future as opposed to your own. Debt is a drain on your resources, and you've got to look at getting out of debt. I think that's the first thing that comes up. But 1A to that is you've got to have an emergency fund, because not having an emergency fund will put you in debt, because life does happen.
And let me clarify, you want some level of emergency savings before you really focus on the debt, but you're not going to get that emergency fund maxed out to where you really want it to be until after you've knocked out the debt. So a little bit of an emergency fund, a couple of $1,000s, then you really begin to focus on the debt, and then we're going to circle back and really focus on that emergency fund. And then beyond that point, Candace, we can really begin to focus on retirement planning.
Yeah, after you have about 3 to 6 months of savings in your emergency fund, I should say 3 to 6 months of expenses actually in your emergency fund, then switch to saving for retirement. And does your employer offer a match? And are you taking advantage and maxing out that match? That's 100% return right there.
Well, and I think that the time issue here is huge. And a lot of people say, well, I'm spending a lot of time getting out of debt and I'm losing some money. No, you're going to be able to put more money toward retirement once you get out of debt. But the time value of money really does kick in that long run to retirement, because that's where you make a big difference. I've seen people quibble over 0.25% interest on short-term savings, and you're chasing pennies when you do that.
Yeah.
You're losing dollars. You're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars when you don't take advantage of your retirement plan at work, don't take advantage of your employer match, and are not diligent at putting money away toward your future retirement.
Guys, I think, when we talk about the gift of financial planning, when you talk about giving that to maybe your adult children, I would do it sooner rather than later. When you think about a young person coming right out of college, maybe you can give that gift of financial planning right along the same timeline as they're getting their first job. They've got to make decisions about their retirement plan, and maybe they don't have a whole lot of debt yet. And if they can avoid those pitfalls by being educated about them before they happen, it is a game changer for them. And frankly, it's a game changer for you and your confidence in retirement if you know you're not going to have to help your kids out financially along the way because they've been educated about how to handle that themselves.
Janet, we have this gift here at Gen Wealth of being clairvoyant. We can know exactly what all of our listeners are thinking, or at least some of our listeners are thinking.
So are you having one of those moments, John?
I am having one of those moments. They're thinking about the fact, well, I set up an account for Jim Bob or whatever, and he's going to be set. Maybe and maybe not.
Yeah.
It's not about the investments. Investments alone just don't cut it. You've got to have the information and the knowledge, because what will happen down the road, and again, experience is talking here, people will dip into those investments because life happens. Something came up and I need to take care of this, so I'm going to go get that and pull that money out and go take care of this immediate need. And it derails that path to financial independence.
Let me use an example that we've talked all around this today, but we haven't talked about this specific example. We've talked about the importance of paying off your debt before you focus on retirement. But let's say that there's somebody out there who has credit card debt and they have a retirement plan, and then they change jobs. Well, guys, we know where this story goes. Absent financial advice, what happens is when they change jobs, they go, you know what? I'm ready to be rid of that credit card debt. We've got $20,000 in credit card debt, so I'm going to take my money out of my retirement plan, and instead of rolling that over to an IRA, I'm going to just pay this credit card off and be done. Well, and we've all said, pay off your debt, emergency fund, then retirement planning. So I understand, they've heard in the generalities of the sermon, so to speak, this is the sequence. But what they're not thinking about is the power of compound interest. John, you talked about the time value of money, that if you leave that, let's say $40,000 in there, that you're going to have to withdraw $40,000 in order to pay $20,000 on your credit card because of taxes and early withdrawal penalties. If you leave that money in there and let it continue to work, it's going to have a tremendous impact on the overall value of your retirement assets in the future because of how long you still have. It's going to cost you way more than $20,000 to just pay off that credit card debt in a lump sum. So again, coaching in the details can really make a tremendous difference for you.
And here's a detail that we need to address. I got a question from a listener. Donnie is asking the question, which is better, open accounts for grandchildren and gift dollars now, or leave a gift upon death? And that question is actually ever changing right now.
Yeah.
Part of it depends on where the gift would come from, because there are taxation issues on particularly like retirement accounts. They just changed some stuff, and we're going to talk about the Secure Act that I think just made future generations more financially insecure than secure. But we'll get to that in just a moment. But there's also a lot of conversation afoot about step up in cost basis and that going away. And I know some of that is really kind of technical sounding, but let's explore that for just a second.
Well, let me set aside the technical aspect of this for Donnie for just a moment and cut to the chase. If your financial advisor can look at your overall situation and say, Donnie, you're going to be okay financially if you gift a portion of this now, and you get the joy of seeing your grandchildren receive that and enjoy it, or maybe your adult children, you get that joy of seeing them receive it and enjoy it now. If that doesn't impair your overall financial plan, then we're usually in favor of that. But there needs to be a balance there, because you don't want to give away so much of it that it impairs your ability to retire or stay retired.
Candace, I would add to that if you give the gift now, and you're financially able to give that gift now, not impair your current situation. If you give that gift now, you actually give a double gift. You give the actual money, if you will, into that account, but you also give the gift of some wisdom that goes along with that, and some guidance that goes along with that, and the understanding of what the grandfather wants the grandchildren to know about that money.
Yeah, it was nice in my situation with my grandfather. He was able to pay for my college education, and so I didn't have that debt, but he got to see me graduate. And yes, that brought him tremendous joy to be able to do that.
And I'm sure that did a lot for your relationship too.
Oh yes, because we got to talk about money, growing up. My sisters were a lot younger than I was, so I was the one that got to meet with him and talk about that kind of stuff. He was a business owner, he was successful, so he got to teach me a lot of those things. But yeah, he was able to do that for us girls and see the fruits of that labor too.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
So I want you to stop and think about something for just a minute as we get ready to head to another break. But think about, you could go out and spend, I don't know, $500 or so on a Christmas gift. And that Christmas gift might be on, the ash heap of life, if you will, in no time at all. Or you could spend a small amount of money on a financial plan for maybe a child or maybe even a grandchild, just an educational experience and some money to go along with it. And you could be in a position to change that person's life forever. I've seen it happen time and time again with our clients. I've seen it happen in my family. Janet, I know it's happened in your family. Candace has just spoke about it. It is real. And this is the gift that really does keep on giving, because the more you build on that foundation that you make on that financial education that you're given, the further down the road that you can get.
So all you have to do if you want to participate in that and give the gift of financial planning, give us a call between now and December 23rd. So you've got until right before Christmas Eve. Give us a call, 501-653-7355, and just let us know you'd like to participate in our Christmas special.
The Get Ready for the Future show continues in just a moment.
At Gen Wealth, one of our standards is that we value good communication. One of my favorite quotes about good communication is from George Bernard Shaw. He said, "The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. If you ever doubt that, come to my house, listen to my 16-year-old son and my 13-year-old daughter having a conversation, and see what happens, because they will walk away with completely different understandings of the conversation that has occurred." It happens every time. It's okay, they're still learning communication. But here at Gen Wealth, We believe that that's something you need to experience every time you walk in our door, that you need to feel understood, that you need to feel listened to. So you'll see a change in how we're even communicating. If you're talking about something that's very serious, very personal, you'll even hear a change in our tone of voice, because that's just how good communication is supposed to be. But it also means that we can feed back to you what you've shared with us, just so you know that we're listening. We value good communication.
A burning question? Email info@getreadyforthefuture.com with your name, location, and question to get a response on the air from the Gen Wealth team. Now, back to the Get Ready for the Future show.
We're talking about the gift of planning and what an impact that plan could make on the recipient's financial future, and what an impact it could make on your future, actually getting to see all that come to fruition. And we had a question from one of our listeners. Donnie asked about whether it's better to go ahead and give a gift now or give a gift at death and it come in the form of a bequest. And Candace, you were actually saying that you don't necessarily have to pick one or the other.
Yeah, we don't think that has to be an either or. If you plan properly, there should be enough residual left over to where you can give some now and then still give them some later, but you get to enjoy, giving that gift now and seeing your loved ones make the best of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the key is time with your financial planner. If you're the giver of the gift financially, it's to make sure that you're able to do that. And guys, one of my favorite stories along these lines as far as giving the gift of financial planning, had clients years ago. They had been my clients for quite a few years, and they had a couple of kids. And so the adult parents came in and said, hey, we've got these two adult children, and here's what we'd like to do. We have told both of them that they need to come in and meet with you and do financial planning. What we have not told them is that if they do that, then we're going to gift them $10,000. They have to make the decision to follow our advice without knowing that there is money on the line for this. But if they come in and they get a plan put together and implement that plan, then we're going to gift them with that. One child did it, the other did not, and the one who did not still does not know about it to this day.
Wow.
But it's the beauty of that, though. Think about that for just a minute. They're saying, hey, we did financial planning. We understand the difference that it made in our lives. We have some excess cash that we can gift to our children, but we're not going to give it to them just because they have our DNA. We're going to give it to them if they are making wise decisions financially. And so that's what that family chose to do. And it was really pretty amazing. I got to be the one who told the kids who, followed the financial plan and everything. I got to be the one who told them about it. There were tears in the room. Aww. And it was just a beautiful thing. But think about the impact that makes for that young couple to be able to go, okay, that emergency fund that we thought was going to take us a year and a half, it's done. And then they get to move on to the next level.
That's awesome.
It's incredible. And don't, as you hear this, don't feel like, oh my gosh, we don't have $10,000 to give per kid. It doesn't matter. And you don't have to give them anything, but they need to do financial planning. If you can give them the gift of financial planning, that's very impactful for them, obviously. And above and beyond that, to go back to Donnie's question, if there's something that you could give now, it can make a tremendous impact. If they're making wise financial decisions, I'd go ahead and do it if you can financially.
So let's talk a little bit about the things that are standing in the way of this generation to generation transfer of wealth, because that's really also a gift that is a byproduct of planning. If you've done your planning properly through the years, you will have an inheritance to pass on to your children and maybe even your grandchildren. And so there are a lot of forces aligning right now. And let me just say that this is not a partisan comment. One of the things that's been done to hurt the generation to generation transfer of wealth was done during the Trump administration. There are forces lining up to do more in the Biden administration if that actually comes to fruition. And so the key here is to understand that there are things that you need to plan around. So let's talk first about this so-called Secure Act that was passed back in 2019. This changed the whole dynamic of how most middle income and upper middle income people are going to be able to transfer the wealth that they have to the next generation, because most middle and upper middle income people have most of their wealth in their retirement account. And the Secure Act changed, Janet, forever, unless the legislation gets unwound, a very long time-honored tradition of being able to basically protect most of that retirement account for the children or even the grandchildren's retirement for themselves.
So, Candace, you know, we see all the time that the majority of a person's wealth is tied up in their 401k, and most of that has not yet been taxed. Right. And in the past, prior to the Secure Act, we had a situation where the beneficiaries, let's just go to the next generation, skip the spouse for a minute. Let's say both spouses are gone, go to the next generation. In the past, the next generation, the children, had the opportunity to stretch the receipt of that money and therefore the exposure to taxes throughout the rest of their lifetimes. Now, if they wanted to receive it all at once, they were not impeded from doing that, but they were not forced to receive it in a faster time period. And so I really think this is one of those generational things. You know, our country has changed lots of things as the baby boomers have aged. And I think the IRS looked at this and went, baby boomers, generational transfer of wealth, the IRS has an opportunity. And so they've taken advantage of this to say, we're going to now force the exposure to taxes in a 10-year period of time rather than over a lifetime. So when money goes from what was, let's say, dad's 401k, now it's in dad's IRA, mom and dad are gone, and it goes to the next generation, now there is a 10-year period of time where that money has to be withdrawn. And Candace, that has a pretty big impact on taxes for the recipients, because they're probably in their working and high earning years and receiving this.
Yeah. So when you're receiving that, I guess that RMD per se, that has to be taxed, and that may impact your annual income taxes, because that may push you into the next tax bracket. So that could be an issue. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about, let's say, and I'm just going to work in round figures. It doesn't matter what your dollar amount is, but let's say there's $1 million, and let's set aside any growth that would happen during the 10-year time period. Just doing the simple math of $100,000 per year would now have to be distributed to your heirs. Well, if you have 2 children, that's $50,000 per child per year that has to be distributed, and that's on top of their other taxable income. If you have 1 child, that's $100,000 per year that has to be distributed. And so, like Candace said, it pushes you up into that higher tax bracket. And so a significant portion of what would have been their inheritance is going to go to taxes, where in the past that could have been stretched out and the taxes minimized. So I think that Donnie didn't know he was going to ask a question we'd talk about in every segment of the show, but it does relate back to his question that if you want to gift smaller portions now of that IRA money, if that fits into your plan, and that's important, but if it fits into your plan, it might be a wise idea, because they're not going to lose as much of it to taxes in the overall big picture.
Yep.
And the other thing that you've got to think about is, okay, what's my response to the Secure Act? Well, there can be 2 things. One is that you could look at the possibility of doing Roth conversions. Now, I say that with a huge asterisk on it, because there are lots of complex issues around that. But that is a possibility, especially if you're not near retirement. You have some time to let that grow and let the Roth accumulation of tax-free income take effect there. That has some positive impact. The other thing that you can think about doing is the purchase of life insurance. Life insurance still, as of this moment, passes to the beneficiary tax-free. There is no tax on the lump sum death benefit of a life insurance policy, and that could go in replacement of the money that is going to be taxed as the IRA. So the idea would be for you to spend the IRA money and spend part of it on a life insurance policy. The life insurance death benefit, when you're gone, goes to your heirs, and it transfers tax-free, and that negates the impact of the distributions being taxed at your death from your IRA. So that's a thought about that when it comes to the Secure Act. The Secure Act is already in place. It is law. Joe Biden has said that he wants to change the way inherited assets are taxed in a different way. Right now, if let's say that my father bought some stock in, let's say he bought some stock in Apple, just as an example, not to endorse Apple stock or anything of that nature, but let's say that he bought some stock in Apple way back when. And now Apple stock has gone through the roof and has been a great investment and has accumulated a lot of untaxed gain in that stock. So it went from maybe $1 a share when he bought it to now it's, some high price, $300 or $400 a share, whatever it is. It's now a greatly appreciated asset. Under the current law, if my dad were to die and leave that stock to me, I would get what is called a step up in the cost basis, meaning that on the date of his death, that's my new cost basis. So I don't have to pay tax on all of that money from $1 all the way up to $300 or $400. I just have to pay tax on it from the date that he died up until the time that I'm ready to sell it.
So let me say this a different way. If Dad bought it for $1 and it's worth $400 when he passes away, then without that step up in basis, then John, you would have to pay taxes on $399 in gains.
That's right, per share.
Per share, yeah. With the step up in basis, then at whatever point you sell it, it was worth $400 when Dad passed away. If you sell it at $410 per share, then you're only paying taxes on the $10 in gain from the date of his death to the date of the sale.
Right. That's exactly right. And they're looking to basically do away with that step up in cost basis.
Right.
That is a proposal under the Biden administration. Another thing that is on the table is a change in the estate tax. Right now, the estate tax is at $11.5 million. They're looking to more normalize the estate tax.
Biden words, normalize.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
And I can remember a time when the estate tax was $5 million. I can remember a time when the estate tax was $1 million. And so that those all play into this intergenerational transfer of wealth. And Janet, all of that is a threat, and it is really a impetus for someone to come in and actually do planning, because there are ways around this.
Yeah, to plan with an advisor and to coordinate that plan, Candace, with an estate planning attorney as well, we believe is very important.
Yeah, usually that's part of our process too, that we talk about you having an estate plan as well and meeting with an estate planning attorney. Talking about wills and trusts. You may need a trust, especially if we have young children in the household. You want to decide who may take care of them if something happens to you, or if you have a blended family, trust will come into play. Or if you have a lot of non-retirement assets, a trust would definitely come into play. Medical directive, who do you want to make decisions if you become incapacitated? And then a power of attorney who could step in and speak for you if you're incapacitated. So all those things will come into play too. And you need to bring your children in too. We're talking about generations here. Bring in your children and make decisions like this as a family.
Take the first step right now. You can actually call us at 501-653-7355 to get started with our half-off financial planning fee for the holidays. We're back in just a moment.
The beauty of a potter's work is that each item is unique. No piece is the same. That's what makes it art. At Gen Wealth, we believe your financial plan should be unique to you. Through our process, your money is carefully shaped around your goals and dreams. Your future, artfully crafted. Call us today or visit our website and connect with us. Gen Wealth Financial Advisors.
I don't think it's any coincidence that the Bible says, "Fear not," 365 times, one for every day of the year. At Gen Wealth, one of our standards is that we do not fear. We don't fear market downturns because we know that they're going to happen. We just simply plan for those things to happen and work around them. It's one of the things that we believe very earnestly, that you should never fear what you don't understand. You simply find a way to understand it and find a way to use it to your advantage. It's one of the Gen Wealth standards.
smarter, simpler, more personal approach to retirement continues with the Get Ready for the Future show.
Our mission at Gen Wealth is to provide wise, knowledgeable counsel through trusted advisors so our clients can realize their God-given financial purpose in their lives and leave a legacy to the generations to come. And that's the mission that we have lived by every day of our now, what is it, Janet? 16, almost
15 and a half, yeah.
Almost 16 years of existence. And we really are dead set on helping you to do that. And we're trying to give you a great opportunity to do that right now by giving us a call at 501-653-7355. During the holidays, between now and December 23rd, we are cutting our financial planning fees in half so you can actually take advantage of this yourself, or maybe you'll have the novel idea of giving a gift of planning, and we would love to do that for you in conjunction with you and whoever you're wanting to give that gift to. All you have to do is give us a call at 501-653-7355. Janet, I know that people all the time say, hey, what's the plan? What are we going to do tonight? What are we going to do here? I think you got to ask that question about your finances. What is the plan as you get ready to head into the holiday season? Do you have a plan for your finances? Do you have a plan for retirement? If retirement is very near your financial future, that's something that you've got to really focus on.
So let's talk about why a lot of people don't ask that question when it comes to financial planning. There's several reasons that people don't ask, what's the plan? One of those is, Candace, they make an assumption that financial planning is boring.
They do, don't they? But I think we make it fun.
Yeah.
I mean, come in and talk about, of course, I'm kind of a nerd about this stuff, so I think it's always going to be fun.
Well,
but
I mean, there's a couple of aspects of it. Like, they might think that the part of it that we do is boring, but when you come in, you know what we're talking about? We're talking about you. And who doesn't want to talk about themselves?
Right.
I mean, it's not boring to talk about yourself, right?
And we're talking about your life.
Yeah.
I think by the end, and they've got that plan, I don't think they find it boring anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is this preconceived notion about all these numbers all over the page and blah, blah, blah. I get where people would think that that's boring. We're talking about your dreams. We're talking about your future, and that's not boring.
Right.
Let me tell you, I sat with a client this week that if I said their name on the radio, I will assure you everyone in our listening audience would know who this person is. We don't do that here at Gen Wealth, so I'm not going to divulge, client name or anything of that nature. But they came in and they were like, okay, can we do this? We've got a couple of years, time horizon. Can we do this? And we ran the numbers and everything and went, you can really do this. And so they began to talk about all the things they were going to do and all the places they were going to go and all the experiences that they were going to enjoy together. They're planning on retiring at the same time. And I got excited for them. How many of these things have we done over the years? Thousands of financial plans. But every time I sit down with folks and I begin to see them go through the actual realization that their dreams are actually going to come true, it really does excite me. And obviously it does to the clients because they're the ones who get to experience it.
Yeah. I mean, so look at it this way. A plan is the physical manifestation of your excitement.
That's
and
right.
What could be more exciting than leaving a legacy for the next generation as well?
Yeah. And I think that the other thing that people assume is they assume they're bad at money or bad at planning or whatever. And that's okay. That's why we're here, because you aren't taught what to do with your money in school. You are basically kind of catch a little bit here and a little bit there, and you kind of, do maybe a little research on your own or whatever. Candace, you don't have to be an expert at money to come work with us.
No, that's kind of like saying, well, I'm not going to take my car to the mechanic because I don't understand what's wrong with it. You know?
That's a good one.
You're
That
right.
is good.
So, when we don't understand what's happening, we bring it to an expert, and that's our job. Our job is to do the planning. They don't have to worry about it.
I love this one, and I've heard this before. I can't because I never have. Well, if that were the way...
Oh, no.
If that were the way everything was, you'd never do anything.
You'd never get potty trained.
That's right.
I can't do that because I never have.
analogies.
We just about lost Candace on that one. But I mean, seriously, just take it to the extreme. You can't tell yourself, I can't do that because I never have. Everything that you've ever done in life, there was a point when you had not done that.
Well, and I think more to the point, people think, that's just not my family tree. Nobody in my family's ever been financially independent, or nobody in my family has really ever did anything with money, and that's just not who we are, or whatever the case may be. That doesn't have to be the case. Poverty and even, financial dependence doesn't have to persist from one generation to the next.
Change your family tree.
Yeah, I've been through that change. My family didn't ever have a whole lot of money, and so we became business owners, and it was a huge change in the financial experience that I had. You can too.
Yeah.
Here's something that I think will blow the minds of a lot of people out there. There is no limit on wealth. There is no limit.
That's right.
Just because the other guy has some and you don't be envious of that other guy. There's plenty out there for you. All you got to do is go get it. And part of going to get it is understanding how the game is played and having a coach to help you understand how that game is played. And don't just assume that it's not for you or that you're just not lucky. When it comes, from that spot, you're really creating your own destiny, in my opinion.
Guys, I'm going to circle back a little bit to last week's show and add another reason, that people don't get a plan, and that is the conversation between spouses. That it's something you go, we weren't raised to talk about money, and we're not really comfortable talking about money, so we're just not going to talk about money. Well, do you want to retire? I mean, seriously, do you want to have that become part of your reality at some point? So at some time, you have to look at your spouse and go, hey, this retirement thing, what's the plan? And you got to have an answer to that. And if you don't have one, that's what we're here for. And
let there be some uncomfortable silence to that question for a few seconds.
Yeah.
And then when it's, what is the phrase where there's pregnant pause there in the conversation, and then you go, okay, let's go do something about it. By the way, Gen Wealth Financial Advisors is running a special. It's a Christmas holiday thing, half off the cost of a financial plan. Look, a financial plan can be way, way, way more valuable than what you will spend on the plan itself. There is that huge value gap there that you just really don't realize until you come in and sit down and have that conversation. And Candace, that's really how it starts, is with a conversation. You can actually come in and sit down with an advisor. It doesn't cost you anything to have that first conversation. And then once you really understand the dynamics of what you're doing, then you can proceed from there.
Yeah, and today we've been talking about the gift of financial planning. And even though you're doing that financial planning for yourself, that's still a gift to the next generation. Because, you don't want to be a burden on them. And if you don't do your stuff right, you may have to depend on the next generation to take care of you. And most people don't want to do that.
And it's a gift to your spouse as well.
Yes.
I mean, guys, I'm just going to let you in on a secret here. The ladies in your life, your spouse, your wife has a security gland that you don't have. And we joke about that. She needs to feel secure. And one of the ways that she really needs to feel secure is financially. And so if you know that that's a thing for your wife, that she does not feel secure about retirement, this is going to be like the sexiest thing you could do for her. Okay? Seriously. It's like, honey, I'm paying for us to get a financial plan. Let's go do it. Guys, y'all know most of the people who make the phone calls to Gen Wealth, it's the wives, because they are seeking that financial security. It is not the guy. It may be mostly the guy's money, because we're still kind of in that time period, and not always, but we're still kind of in that time period where a lot of the money has been earned in the husband's name. But it's the lady who is making the call and going, we got to go get a plan together.
Or in most cases, the guy is actually making the call, but at the behest of the wife.
Yes.
He's picking up the phone because it's his money, but it's because the wife is in his ear going, hey, let's do something about that. Great opportunity to do that right now by giving us a call here at Gen Wealth Financial Advisors, 501-653-7355. We've got offices all across the state of Arkansas and in Northwest Louisiana ready to serve you during the holiday season. All right, let's go to the final thoughts. Janet?
I would say that, when you look at each other and say, what's the plan? If you don't have an answer to that, give us a call. It's so simple. Don't keep putting it off. You know, most of the things you put off in life, they just get more and more difficult. They don't get easier by you delaying them. So don't let your answer be to procrastinate. You've got an opportunity now to get a plan in place, whether it's for you or maybe even gifting it for the next generation. It's less expensive than it would be normally, and it's very doable. Don't be overwhelmed by it. Give us a call.
Candace?
I'd say to start now. Don't be one of the clients that comes in and says, man, I wish I had started back when. Start now.
Let me say this. When you think about the huge impact or the overwhelming idea of changing your family's financial tree, so to speak,
Yeah.
it all starts with one decision. At one point in time, somebody said, okay, things are going to be different. Things are going to be different in my life, or things are going to be different for my kids or my grandkids, or whatever the case may be. There was one decision that was made to do that. And then they set about the course of changing what was going on in their finances. It's a great opportunity to do that right now, and the cost will never be cheaper. You will always have the opportunity to do it, but you won't have the opportunity to do it at such a discounted rate. Give us a call here at Gen Wealth Financial Advisors. Phone number is 501-653-7355. Offices in Conway, Little Rock, Bryant, Hot Springs, El Dorado, and in Bossier City, Louisiana. We would love to help you change your family tree, help you to give the gift of planning during this holiday season. Just give us a call and take advantage of it. All right, that's going to wrap us up for the Get Ready for the Future show for this weekend. For Candace Stanley and Janet Walker, I'm John Shrewsbury. Have a great weekend.
The Gen Wealth Financial Team is available to you 24/7 at info@getreadyforthefuture.com or call our offices at 501-653-7355. You should personally consult a financial advisor before making any investment, and no strategy can assure success. Gen Wealth Financial Advisors is an Arkansas-registered investment advisor with securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC.